Hello and welcome to SeekHealing's Seeker Stories. My name is Ayansel Farron. I am the Outreach Coordinator and Interviewer Extraordinaire for SeekHealing. We've been doing these Seeker Stories with members of our program for a few months now. We just really know the power of telling our stories and of taking the stigma out of recovery and all of our ways that we heal from trauma. And today I have my beautiful coworker with me, Monica Crase. Monica has been one of the original seekers, really, with the program almost from the very beginning. And as of last year, also an employee. She helps me out so much with all the little doodads of the office. And she is a advocate for Candler, North Carolina, where she lives, which is just outside of Asheville here. She also is very active in her church and enjoys hanging out with her boyfriend and her kitty cat Merlin. And today she's going to be telling us about her story of how she came into recovery and offer some advice for how we can improve our own recovery journeys. So you ready to go, Monica? Great. All right. So my first question, we dive in. I guess I should make a disclaimer too for everybody watching this that we have a value of vulnerability and authenticity here in SeekHealing. So Monica is going to get really real about her journey, and if you are somebody who has a hard time hearing about hard things for people, a hard time hearing about trauma, you might want to be advised that this interview could potentially be triggering for you. And hopefully you will, if you can hang in there and hear all that there is to hear, you can learn something too. So we're going to dive straight into it with the question of where did your journey with substance bonding begin, Monica?
Substance bonding, it started after a car accident I was in high school. It was pretty traumatic. I've had 3 back surgeries since then, but I've been getting a prescription on and off, mostly on, since I was 15. So
Wow.
Naturally, over the course of time, addiction just happens.
Mm-hmm. So you were on, or you were and still are on pain meds to mitigate the impact of that car accident?
Well, I did my pain management going through the doctors about, what year is it? Maybe 2.5 years ago. I figured I was on this quest to figure out why I was wrong, what's wrong with me. I'm an addict. I need these pills in order to survive. And I just made it like this internal mission to go out and just find these resources that everyone says will fix me. So after trying for so long, I was just like, okay, well, I just need to try and get all in. So I made the choice and walked away from pain management. I haven't had a pain pill, and I had one earlier this year when I had to go to the hospital. But other than that, it's been about 2.5 years since I've had one. It's just too expensive. The life of a volunteer and nonprofit person doesn't pay a lot, so it's quick to go. But yeah, it's not really been easy trying to find those resources that they say are available out there for you. Yeah.
What have you been able to find that's worked for you?
SeekHealing. That sounds so corny, but it's true. SeekHealing is the thing that I continue to show up for. Just going through the motions and taking advantage of the benefits that they try to help people with. Like, acupuncture has been one that's actually helped curb my pain on some days. It made it more tolerable. I go in just bending over at the waist, not able to stand up straight, and I go in for the acupuncture, and I'm able to walk out like semi-erect. So it's helped a little bit in that aspect, but also going inwards and realizing that my pain is not just a physical pain, that it's continuously being just like reopened with this trauma that's apparently there that I thought I dealt with and I didn't deal with. And so I'm getting that through SeekHealing, the healing from inside out.
Wow, beautiful. And when you say the trauma, do you mean specifically from the accident or other things as well?
Oh, other things, just the life trauma that continues to happen. Anything can be, just put on as trauma. Through my quest and my journey that led me to SeekHealing, I learned about the ACEs, the adverse childhood effects. That score that they do, and the only test I never wanted a perfect score on, and I almost had one. So realizing it's like, oh, there's this test that tells me why I messed up the way that I am. It makes sense a little bit, but just those things that realizing that they should have impacted my life in some way, but always living in that fight or flight mode of survival, like never really being able to sit with my problems and address them and see how they make me feel and how do I really feel about that, instead of like burying it in there and choosing not to even acknowledge it and just go through the motions.
Wow. Yeah, that's really well put. It strikes me that choice, the choice between sitting with it or not. And I imagine maybe on some level that choice needs to become conscious first, right? Like we don't even know that it's a choice for so long. Do you think it was it Seek that helped you like become aware of that choice, or was it coming on in other ways?
I would say that Seek is the catalyst for it. Through this program, even before I was an employee, just as a seeker and volunteer, I have met the most diverse group of people I have ever been blessed to have. I have the privilege to work next to professionals like you and so many other people, to where, I just get that learning of the trauma and being able to like take a path with them to go and address it in a different way. So Seek is definitely like the catalyst for it, that they put me in line with someone who helped me through a private therapy, like go inwards for the first time. Like I didn't realize it, but I was living in a situational awareness my whole life, like just waiting to be attacked at some angle from something. But I traveled inwards for the first time and really knew what it was to be with myself. And it was the most crazy experience, but I wouldn't have never met this individual and this human if it hadn't been for Seek. 30 years of being situational aware of everything else around me and not myself, like going inwards for the first time in my life. Like it was very overwhelming, I'd have to say. It's just like everything came alive at once for me that I just realized I'd never dealt with. So it hit me.
Yeah, it's super, super major. It reminds me of one of my favorite books by Glennon Doyle called Love Warrior. I don't know if anybody's heard of that. Oh, it's amazing. And she talks about that experience, of finally like sitting with herself for the first time and just, sobbing and having this realization of like, that's what she calls a love warrior, somebody who's able to sit in their pain long enough to really feel it, and have it transform them on the other side. So anyway, I really, really super honor that. So how is your recovery journey feeling right now? I mean, of course it's for all of us. I mean, myself included as myself a recovering codependent person. I know it's a lifelong journey and there's infinite layers to the onion to pull back. Where would you say you're kind of at right now with it?
It's a complex answer. Where I am at in this journey a few years later after joining Seek is at the beginning, after doing a full circle around all the resources and not taking advantage of them. So recently I decided to go with a fresh look and actually go through SeekHealing's Extra Care program that we have.
Nice.
Go into it, link up with Rachel Wertzman, who's in charge of doing those one-on-ones with people to help connect them and just really process things. It's like, if I'm going to do this, I need to go full force and full in since I have that available to me. So I've had my first meeting with the Extra Care, so I'm kind of right there back at the beginning, but I know everything that's going to be happening because, I've been looking at these handouts and these resources for a few years now. And now it's like, okay, well, now I'm going to look at it like I'm applying it to my life. And sitting and talking to Dr. Wertzman, Rachel, sitting and talking to her about these options that I never even dreamed of could potentially be available to me, but we're going at it from different approach, the scientific approach of it. And it gives me different hope than I've ever really had. You know, like, you become so discouraged after being told no for so long. It's like people tell you you're messed up, you're just an effed up human being, you know, excuse my mouth, but like, just everyone tells me that I'm wrong and that I shouldn't be the way that I am, but no one is really offering me realistic solutions to it. And knowing that before, when I set out on the journey, it was kind of like an ego-driven journey, to where it's like, oh no, I'm gonna prove them wrong. But now it's like a more humbling approach going through this with Rachel, because it's like, no, it's gonna be a lot harder than that. And it really need to find this course, this path, because you know, addiction sucks. It sucks no matter what way you look at it. But I have a different layer to my onion with it that puts it on top, that I also need to still address my pain issue. You know, it's no one really asked for addiction. You know, I feel like I was robbed of my choice with having to get prescriptions. That's the only way they knew to help me. But I still have this pain that I have to deal with every day. And it's like, how am I going to be able to deal with that? And now we also have this issue of addiction as well. So it's just like a different web that's being spun that we got to figure out. But this hope is just different now. You know, especially when I had that opportunity to connect with Rachel, and, you know, she really just lays it out for me and throws me options that I could never even dream of. And, you know, being with Seek for so long, I see how many people we affect, how many lives we change on a regular daily basis. And it's like, oh, that's going to be me. I'm going to be one of those lives here now. It's like, they've already changed me, but I'm going to be changed so much better now. And it's different, and it's exciting.
That's super exciting. Oh, I'm like, wow, I'm so happy for you. Congratulations on
Thank you.
doing that. And I'm so glad that we're getting to give back to you in a way, because you've given the organization so much over these years. I have a couple of questions. One, just when you mentioned seeing or hearing that, you know, you're not okay, and like, kind of, it sounds like maybe shaming language or shaming messages coming at you. Was that from like people in your life, people in like other mental health spaces, or just in general in your life?
Myself, I would say, would be the first and foremost. You know, I'm my worst critic. I'm harder on myself 10 times more than anyone could ever be. So, you know, I'll hear someone say one thing like, you know, addicts have choices. In my mind, I might imagine it's like, oh, they're saying that I shouldn't be an addict because I have choices. You know, it's I magnify that guilt on myself and that shame on myself, because I see what people with addiction go through, you know, the struggles that they go through, and people just ridicule them. They put them down, you know, and just the anger and the hostility that comes off people. You know, it's like, I don't want to be like this. You think if it was that easy, you know, I would just flip that switch and been done.
Right.
But, you know, just sitting across from people, and, you know, I respect my elders. But, you know, I notice the generation gaps sometimes when I speak with people, sitting across from them. And, you know, they might be from the times of hard work and, you know, just that hard discipline. I call it the farm life, you know, that strict upbringing. There's nothing wrong with that, but it was definitely a more simple time. You know, we didn't have peer pressure like they do now, and influences coming at you from all angles, and then throwing the big pharma on top of it, and just pushing different things to try and take care of you. It's a lot more complex and diverse these days. So, you know, I can understand, and I can hear and see why people would think that way if they came from a different times, you know, and I can definitely not hold it against them. But the truth of it is like, it's much different, it's much harder these days. I mean, and we're just talking about addiction. You know, if we throw in all the other factors of life, you know, whether it be poverty or whatever it may be, like lack of resources, whether it be transportation or food or anything like that, then, you know, the struggle's just that much harder. And once you're down, it's every time you get knocked down, it's just that much harder to get up. It's just, I guess, comes down to the grit. It's how much do you want to get up?
Wow, that's a really, really powerful question. And I wonder, what comes to me around kind of the farm life attitude, where I kind of get this sense of like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and maybe something that's a little gentler, that we have cultivated in SeekHealing. And yet people do still need to find that inner grit or whatever, that inner thing inside them, like you were just pointing to try their best to stick with it. I guess where I'm going with this is like, do you think that Seek felt like the right fit for you because it was able to offer kind of a gentler, more understanding approach to navigating your addiction?
Okay, so this is be completely honest, take my mask off, and truly authentic with this. I will say, if I truly knew what Seek was from the beginning, how I was then, which was raised in that farm-like mentality and the hardness that came with it, if I had known how much more gentler SeekHealing was, I probably would have passed by. Just because I'm used to that boot camp mentality that, I was definitely raised with more of that firmer fist raising and that farm upbringing. I'll refer to it as, social awareness, connection, speaking from a place of compassion and empathy. It was I didn't know what that was. I had no experience really with it. I remember the first time walking into the listening training, and it was just something I randomly found on Google. I was going to so many things to fill my calendar. It's just like, oh, this is my favorite color. Oh, they offer food. All right, I'm there and it's free. So I just went in thinking it was going to be like everything else I've gone to, because I had gone to so many like educational things at that point that they were all kind of just blurring together. And I remember walking in that first day and everyone's sitting in a circle, and I was just like, what did I just walk into? What's going on here? But I remember shortly in, maybe 15 minutes later, we were doing what's now so familiar with SeekHealing. It was so weird that first day. I had no idea, but just going in and breathing, intentional breathing. I didn't know what that was, and I still struggle with it. And I remember just listening to Jennifer Nicolaisen, our executive director, just listening to her voice and my body responding to the sound of this beautiful woman's voice, and going through that meditation with her and feeling my body respond to it, specifically my spine, because I was really following her voice going through my scan, my head, and down to my toes. And as her voice took us over her spine, my spine just reacted to her voice and gave me a pop. And I was like, oh, what's going on? Okay. To have that kind of physical reaction to someone I've never known, never met before, I knew that there's some kind of magic, some kind of beautiful mystery that I needed to know more about. And then day 2 happened. Excuse me. Before the end of day 1, person I was partnered with had me crying. I was in the middle of this room crying, and at that point in time, I didn't cry. I didn't cry in front of people. I didn't let anybody see my weakness, vulnerability, and what is that? But I was bawling and I was sobbing from this pain that had come up that I didn't even realize was there. But that quickly being aware of this hurt that was inside of me and letting my emotions out in front of this group of people I didn't know, but now I know a lot of them so fondly and love them dearly. But that time, just to cry and to respond like that, it's just something special. So I came back for day 2, completely comfortable in my pajamas, just ready to be there with the people and figure out what was next and what was going on. So I would have, honestly, if I had known we were so compassionate, I probably would not have been there. But I'm glad that I kind of got that blindsided with it, in all honesty. But it works so great with so many other people.
I love that you say that, though, because I think that that's a really true thing for a lot of people, is that it's so new for most of us, I think, to get into a space where we're that radically authentic and vulnerable and being held, being held by other people who can just be with you and not try to fix it or change it or make it go away, but just like hold you in your space and in your emotion. It's such a subtle thing, but yet so radical, like such a radically different energetic space to be in. So I love that it worked for you, and that that was like the opening of a several year long journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you want to say, for anybody watching this who might not know, do you want to give a little explanation of what the Extra Care program is? Or I can.
Let's see, I have my card here in front of me. Where's Extra Care? Well, mine. Extra Care, it's a program that SeekHealing offers. It's completely free to the seeker who enrolls in it. But it's for people who are at risk of an overdose or returning back to behaviors or are in just crisis situations. The Extra Care program will offer alternative resources like holistic healings to try and address the intention that seekers have to handle their addiction. So we get to set an intention at the beginning of it, like many things in SeekHealing, it's all about your intentions. And we're not an abstinence-based program, so if someone does go into the program, whether it's SeekHealing in general or the Extra Care program, if your intention is just to control your behavior with your drug patterns or to become completely abstinent, whatever your intentions are, we try to offer those tools to help you get to that.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Well said. Do you want to also tell people, if you're willing to say, if not, we'll skip this question, but what you were excited about to get engaged with that Rachel, Dr. Wertzman, was making you aware of?
Just the whole understanding that she has. Her brain is absolutely beautiful anyways, but the way that she's able to understand my brain, and why my patterns are the way that they are and what I do. Like even before our first trying to be, facilitator person to the actual seeker, even though we worked together and, we had this other relationship, I still felt this deep connection to her because of her willingness to want to understand me. And just coming out the gate with that kind of person who wants to listen to you, wants to hear about just your life, your experiences, whys, and ask curious questions and actually care about the responses. That would just open the gate to me getting even more excited, because I had gone to so many different resources within the community with my issues, with my problems, and never really feeling truly heard, feeling like I was just put in with the textbook issues, whatever it may be. And it's like, okay, they want to try and treat this one thing, but not me as a person as a whole. Rachel sits down and she breaks down all of it, all my shame that may be in there, my intentions, what makes me happy, sad, do I feel supported and loved, this beautiful creation, the blueprint of we, but it's actually she worked with the program designers to come up with the blueprint of me. So really, I filled out all these questions. It was intense. I got handed this folder and it's like, oh, these are just yes or no questions, but I really had to take a look at myself. And when she met with her meeting and going over those questions, she really wanted to know, why did I feel like that about myself, or just know me. So I feel like she really got a true grasp of me. And once she did, she, without trying to fix me, she, with my okay, helped me come up with alternatives, or come up, we don't have a full game plan, baseball game's still going, but we definitely have a good ground plan for what to do and our next steps. I fall right there in that insurance gap. I don't qualify for state funds. I don't qualify for Medicare, any state governmental help. I don't get it. I'm a full-time student as well. SeekHealing, I love what we do and who we help, but nonprofit work, we do it because our heart's in it, not because we want our pockets full. So people say that there's cheap insurance options. It's like, it's really not. It's not what people make it out. So I have all these things working against me, and her sitting there and just talking to me and hearing me out for hours past our scheduled time she sat there, until she really got me. And it never felt forced. It was just easy. So easy the whole time. It's just, she just had the gateway. She opened that gateway of feel goods.
I'm so happy to hear that. You deserve it.
Thank you.
It's a great testimonial too, just for anybody who's watching this who might be interested in the Extra Care program, getting that holistic help like acupuncture, therapy, massage, nutritional guidance, energy work, life coaching, all this like really amazing stuff that would otherwise be totally outside of, most people's budget. And getting to have access to those things, which, I personally believe everybody should get access to those things. So yeah, I just feel like we're so blessed to be able to provide that. And hopefully we'll get to provide that with for more and more and more people as our funding increases and we get more supporters. And so if you're watching this and you're interested to support that program, please let us know. So yeah, I'm so excited that you're going to do all that you're going to do and that you are doing all that you're doing. What would you give as advice to somebody who is maybe either like just starting their recovery journey or maybe struggling with their recovery journey, or not even have, not maybe are still in use, but want to transition, into recovery? What would you say to them, just given your own experience so far?
You don't have to do it alone if you don't want to. That there are people out there who meet you where you are and accept you for who you are, in use, out of use, abstinence, not abstinence, and whether you disappear or not, that once you come back, it's like you never left. There are people who care. I once thought I was in my corner by myself, me against the big bad world. And earlier this year, I just became so overwhelmed at the amount of people who ask me how I am, and they actually care how I am. It can be a journey filled with people who care.
I agree. And I'll just say from my perspective too, the inner wisdom and, like you said, that inner grit or whatever you want to call it that you have inside of you, that can't be understated too. So I just want to reflect to you personally, Monica, how much I see your strength and beauty in that. And thank you so much for being willing to have this interview so that other people can see it too.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I'm glad we could finally do it.
Yeah, me too. Okay, any other last words or thoughts?
No, I really appreciate everything that SeekHealing has done for me. The bridge that it's building to the Candler community who would not have access to it otherwise. And I just appreciate every opportunity, whether I try and fail and get up again or not, just all the growth that SeekHealing has provided me and the knowledge they've given me and the opportunities they've given me to allow me to do this work for my friend who had overdosed and died. It could have easily been me or any other of our close friends back then, but Tara is the one who passed away. But through SeekHealing, I get to help learn about these resources that she didn't have access to and hopefully extend them to people here so that we don't have to have any more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about, saving the lives that don't have to be lost.
Preventing a death.
Yep. And making life worth living.
Yeah, giving it purpose. If anything, that's another thing that SeekHealing's helped. It's no longer this journey of just wandering. It's some kind of purpose and drive. So when I think that I have nothing to get out of bed for, I can remember that there's a whole team waiting to help give me purpose as well.
So, and you are a crucial member of this team.
You're so
Absolutely.
kind. So
So
kind.
true.
I'll giggle at it, but thank you, Alex. I appreciate the boost.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think we're at a good closing point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you so much for this time and space.
Thank you, Monica. Yeah.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.